Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Are you thinking of traveling on Royal Caribbean's Freedom of the Seas but still have a few questions? Whether you're a first-time cruiser, traveling solo, traveling over the age of 40 like myself, or even plus-sized, in this video I'm answering all of your questions. I went out and I've searched the most commonly searched questions about Royal Caribbean's Freedom of the Seas, and I'm going to answer those questions so that you can decide if Freedom of the Seas is the right cruise for you. So sit back, relax, and let's get right into this video. Hi friends, my name is Scott, and this is Grateful Living Cruises, where I give you honest cruise reviews from someone who travels solo very often, who travels as a plus-sized traveler, and who also travels over the age of 40 years old. I give you trip tips, I give you cruise reviews, I give you cruise tours, I give you everything cruises. So I give you real life experiences, guys, and I do so living life gratefully along the way. So this channel hopefully will provide you guys all kinds of valuable information and fun along the way. So I would love it if you would like and subscribe to join our Grateful Living community. So let's just get started. Okay, let's start with the basics. What class is the Freedom of the Seas, and how big exactly is this ship? Okay, Freedom of the Seas is part of Royal Caribbean's Freedom class of ship. It holds just under 4,000 guests, so it is smaller than a lot of your newer mega ships that they have nowadays, like the Oasis and the Icon, and now even the Star of the Seas. So smaller than those ships, but it's still a large ship, and you still can get that royal treatment, if you will, that Royal Caribbean experience, but with a layout that I would say is a little easier to navigate and generally less crowded than what you're going to experience on some of those other mega newer ships that are holding 6,000 plus people. So to me, this Freedom class of ship, it's larger than the Voyager class. It's smaller than the Oasis and Icon class of ship. It still has all of those major amenities, but it's still big enough, to have all those things, but then it's not too small that you feel like it doesn't live up to what you expect from Royal Caribbean. So in my opinion, it kind of has the best of both worlds. So Freedom class is a fantastic class of ship from Royal Caribbean, in my opinion. Now, you may ask, is the Freedom class of ship a good class of ship for first-time cruisers? And the answer to that, for me, would be absolutely. Freedom of the Seas is actually a great, not only class of ship, excuse me, but it's actually a great ship itself. It's actually one of the more popular ships for first-time cruisers. Currently, it is sailing like long weekends or weekend trips. So if you're a new cruiser, not only can you experience that class of ship, that Royal Caribbean experience, but you can do so in a shorter amount of time to ensure that you actually enjoy it, before you commit to a longer cruise. You get the shows, you get the great food, you get the activities, but it's not so massive that you feel overwhelmed on the very first day that you're on a cruise. So again, it's that great intro to the Royal Caribbean experience, and maybe even cruising in general. So yes, if you are a first-time cruiser, I think this is a great experience for you to have on your first time. And again, I think especially if you do one of these weekend cruises that they're currently, this is 2025, that they're currently doing out of Miami, it would be a great like tiptoe in the water for you as well. Now, let's just jump right into another question. Dining options. Do you really need specialty dining? A lot of people, I guess, are asking this question. On Freedom of the Seas and the Freedom class ships in general. So now we're talking specifically about the Freedom class ships and Freedom of the Seas. So we can talk all day long about all the other class of ships and the other types of ships. But for this video, we're specifically talking about Freedom of the Seas. But I would say there are still plenty of free dining options included on this ship, especially, again, remember we talked about that 3 or 4 night sailing out of Miami. Plenty of options, I believe, if you're doing that sailing. In my opinion, you do not need the specialty dining package unless you just absolutely want it. You can always do a la carte once you're on the ship if you decide that you have some free time and there's some availability in the reservation portal. You can always do that. You're going to have plenty of free options on the ship. You have the Windjammer buffet. You have the main dining room, which is amazing. You have to go check out the main dining room on Royal Caribbean. If you've been on Carnival or any other ship, you have to go to Royal Caribbean's main dining room at least once. The service is amazing. They truly make you feel like a royal in there. You also have Sorrento's Pizza, El Loco Fresh, all solid options on Freedom of the Seas. So you 100% can definitely cruise this ship and eat well without paying extra. That said, if you do want to treat yourself, specialty restaurants like Chops Grill, Giovanni's, the Italian restaurant, and Izumi, the sushi area, hibachi, are also all really good on Freedom of the Seas. They're just not required to enjoy your cruise, especially if you're doing that 3 to 4 night sailing. You aren't going to get bored. And I keep saying the 3 to 4 night sailing because sometimes when you're on the longer sailings, you may get kind of tired of doing just the dining room or the buffet or the pizza or whatever. And you may want to expand the choices of what you have to choose from. But on the shorter sailings, you don't really get that tired of it because you're not eating it as often. So on Freedom of the Seas specifically, what I would say is if you're doing the 3 to 4 night sailing, you're going to have plenty of dining options. You don't necessarily need to spend the extra money, especially if it's your first cruise or your first time on a Freedom class ship. Save your money on your first time. Get a feel for the ship, get a feel for what they have to offer, and then next time you'll have a better idea of what you want to do. That would be my suggestion, at least. So don't hate me if that's not the way that you should have chosen, but that's what I would do. Okay, another popular question, and I don't know how super qualified I am for this, but I was into nightlife more when I was younger, not so much now that I'm over 40, but a lot of people are searching the question, what is the nightlife like on Freedom of the Seas? So Freedom of the Seas isn't a, I would say, party until the sun comes up type of ship. That's more like Carnival, I would say. But there's plenty to do in the evening, and I don't think you're going to have a problem. I will say Freedom of the Seas, in my experience on those 3 to 4 night sailings out of Miami, is more of a party vibe than most Royal Caribbean ships. Like that Utopia of the Seas, let me turn my computer volume off. That Utopia of the Seas weekend ship and the Freedom of the Seas weekend ship, those tend to be a little bit more of that party vibe than most Royal Caribbean ships. So you are going to have a little bit more of that upbeat crowd, I will say, but it isn't that party till the cows come home type vibe still yet, in my opinion. However, you're gonna always have plenty to do. They have those full production shows in the main theater in the evenings. They have live music in the pub and the Schooner Bar. I love going to the Schooner Bar. It's one of my favorites, like the piano bar. They have karaoke and silent disco in Studio B. Well, karaoke also is not in Studio B, but you know, they have silent disco, oftentimes in different areas, but they also have stuff in the Studio B. And then depending on what sailing you're on, they sometimes turn the Studio B. Studio B, by the way, is where they have the skating, ice skating. They also sometimes turn that into like the red. It's called red. Oh, I can't remember. Anyway, they basically turn it into a club sometimes. And they also have on another area of the ship up in the Crown Viking Lounge area, they have the Olive and Twist area. They turn that into a club area in the evenings as well. So they have all kind of different things going on for you to have fun in whatever type of nightlife you're looking for. So if you're into the shows and that kind of nightlife, you're going to have it. If you're into the piano bar kind of nightlife, you're going to have that. If you're into the boots on the ground kind of club vibe, you're going to have those options as well. So you're going to have plenty of those options on the ship. Do not worry. It's going to be more of that fun and lively vibe rather than wild and crazy, I would say. But honestly, that's perfect for a lot of us. Now, let's talk about the other thing that you guys search so often, and that is questions about the slides, activities, and water park. Yes, this ship does have water slides. It has that Perfect Storm Duo slides. These were added during the amplification that they did a few years ago, and they're actually like really nice. They also have the Flow Rider, which is that surf simulator on this Freedom of the Seas. They have a sports court. They have a mini golf. So they don't have that full water park vibe of some of those newer mega ships, but they have plenty to do. I mean, they have the 2 water slides, they have the surf simulator, they have the sports court, they have the mini golf. They have a lot to do. And guys, even if you're not into, like, for example, okay, we all know I'm a big guy, right? I'm not getting on the water slide because I exceed the weight limit, and I'm not getting on the surf simulator because I'm not trying to break my knees. But I love watching. They have these little benches where you can sit and just watch. I love sitting back there because it's on the aft of the ship, and usually there's a great breeze, and then you have the wake from the aft of the ship, and you can just watch the people do the surfing and sliding on the slides. I love it. It's really fun. So yes, they have the slides, they have the water park activities. There's plenty of outdoor fun to do, and it's never really, in my opinion, overly crowded, because I'm not one who likes super crowded areas on ships, and I've never really felt that it was that way here. So yes, you do have plenty of activities here. And even if you have kiddos with you, they do have areas and like little splash areas for them as well. Now, I had to throw this in there, even though it wasn't necessarily one of the most searched questions. But if I'm a solo or plus-sized traveler, what was my experience going to be like? So yes, if you are watching this and you're a solo and or plus-size traveler, I can tell you from my own personal experience that the Freedom of the Seas does really well in this category. I did notice, and you can see in my previous videos, the hallways were nice and wide. The seating areas were very accommodating. They had armless chairs in most of the venues that you could find. They had great mobility throughout the ship. They have traveler meetups depending on, like, if you're a solo traveler, if you're part of the Friends of Dorothy, if you're part of the Friends of Bill. So they have all different kinds of meetups depending on what, you know. If you're solo, you're going to find groups of people, is my point. You're going to find groups of people that you can hang out with. So I wouldn't worry about that. If you're a plus size traveler, you're going to have options for being comfortable and not feeling like you can't get around, or that, you know, it's going to be weird. You're going to be okay in that area too. So don't feel awkward if you're a solo traveler or a plus size traveler. get on the Freedom of the Seas. You're going to be fine. I just got off of her. You can watch my videos. I have room tours. I have ship tours. I have all of the stuff for Freedom of the Seas on my channel already. So take a look at those. Now let's talk about, people are asking about what are the typical itineraries for Royal Caribbean's Freedom of the Seas. As I've mentioned several times, currently, now this is 2025 again, currently they are running mostly 3 and 4 night sailings out of Miami. They're doing Bahamas, and actually the best value ever, almost all of these are including the perfect day at CocoCay, which is Royal Caribbean's private island. I have a full video of that island on my channel as well. So it's ideal for those long weekend or just weekend getaways. Many people are using this as a trial cruise or an affordable cruise because since this is an older ship, even though she has been amplified in recent years, a multi-million-dollar amplification, by the way, she's still an older ship, so she's much less expensive than the brand newer ships, and still she's been amplified, so you're getting, again, the best of both worlds that I was talking about earlier at a less expensive price, but you're still getting to go to their private island, which is amazing. Their private island to me is one of the best in the business. I absolutely love it. And you can watch my reviews on that. I love their private island. So it's a fantastic value, in my opinion, if you're just looking for a long weekend getaway. This would be a perfect ship for you to jump on Freedom of the Seas. So here's my final take. You know, I don't want this video to be too long. I really just wanted to ask ChatGPT what people were searching most about Freedom of the Seas, what questions people were searching the most, so that I could try to tackle those questions, because sometimes it's really hard to know what people are asking and what people want to know beyond what content I already have slated on my own. So I don't want to keep this too long other than the questions that I've already said, but here's my final take for those of you who are debating whether or not you should take a trip on Freedom of the Seas. I always wanted to take a trip on a Freedom class ship, and I'll tell you why. I love the Voyager class ships. So Voyager class is just a class smaller than the Freedom class ships. I love that class of ships because I feel like they're like a perfect size ship in terms of they feel open and spacious, but they don't feel overwhelming, like in terms of people. But sometimes they feel like they don't have as many amenities when you compare them to all the new ships that are coming out. But the Freedom class ships have just a little bit more, right? Without feeling like the 6,000 passenger ships. So if you take a Voyager class ship and you stretch it just a little bit and you add just a few extra things, you get a Freedom class ship. That's the most like easy way I can explain it, and it's completely not technically the right way to explain, but that's how I imagine it. And I always wanted to go on that ship because I just thought, okay, I love this ship so much, so if I could stretch it, add a few more things on there, give it a little bit more space, I think it would be amazing. And I agree. I think the Freedom of the Seas is an amazing ship. I personally don't like that party weekend vibe, but if I was a brand new cruiser and I just wanted to get a vibe to see if I like that type of ship or not, if I like the Royal Caribbean vibe or not, then I would go on this ship knowing that I'm getting a less expensive cruise. I'm getting to go to their private island, which is amazing. But also keeping in mind that it may be a little bit more rowdy than their Royal Caribbean's longer cruises would be. But if I love the island, if I love Perfect Day at CocoCay, and I love the experience in the main dining room, and I love the entertainment on Royal Caribbean, then I know that I'm going to love a longer sailing on one of their other ships as well. So yes, if those things sound appealing to you, then I would definitely book that Royal Caribbean Freedom of the Seas or Freedom class ship. And then you have to come back and let me know what you thought about it. So absolutely, guys, take a chance, get your first cruise booked or book that first Freedom class ship. And I think Freedom of the Seas is an excellent choice, especially if you want that Royal Caribbean experience in a manageable size ship. All right, guys, there you have it. That's all I have for you today. I have more videos coming. My final review of my experience on Freedom of the Seas is coming next, so I hope you'll stay tuned and watch that video. Guys, remember, we have to be grateful always. Every day is a new adventure we have to be grateful for. And yeah, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Would love to have you a part of the community. Bye.